We're looking at the UNISON General Secretary election today. Got the incumbent, Christina McEnany, versus the challenger, Andrea Egan. Our mission, really, is to get into the strategy. Who actually defines efficiency better for, well, this huge public sector union?
Yeah, and what's really interesting here, it's not just about personalities, it's fundamental. This election forces a choice, between two totally different ideas of what efficiency even means for 1.3 million members.
Okay, let's unpack that a bit. So McEnany, the incumbent, she's pushing continuity, right? For her, efficiency seems to be about stability, political connections, and just sheer size.
Exactly. And she can point to numbers, like 70,000 new members recruited in the last couple of years. That looks like success.
That's a big number.
It is. But then you have Egan, the challenger. She represents this reform idea, and she's basically saying, look, big numbers don't matter if you can't actually use that power. For her, efficiency is all about industrial results, tangible wins, better pay for members, even if it means, confrontation.
Right, challenging the way things are currently done. And you see that in who they are, fundamentally. McEnany, the career union official. Predictable, stable leadership. Yeah. Egan, a lay activist, actually a social worker, campaigning against that very system.
And this whole philosophical split, it kind of crystallizes around one detail that's, well, pretty shocking, frankly. It's about the money. McEnany's current salary package. It's reported at an eye-watering £181,000.
Wow.
Yeah. And Egan has made a very explicit promise. She says she'll reject that. She'll take a social worker's wage instead and put the difference, which is massive, straight into the union's industrial action fund.
So that's a direct shot at what she sees as bureaucratic waste, essentially.
Exactly. A symbolic strike against perceived inefficiency at the top.
Okay, but hang on. If the current leadership is so good at recruiting those 70,000 new members, doesn't that show their model is efficient in some way? Is it really a failure or just slow progress?
Well, that's the paradox, isn't it? They're efficient at growing the union at scale. But the sources we've looked at point to a real problem with industrial effectiveness. Despite having 1.3 million members, UNISON has repeatedly failed to get over the 50% legal threshold in strike ballots.
The turnout requirement. That's under UK law, right? You need half the members to even vote.
Precisely. Half the members need to participate just to make a strike legal. For a union this big to struggle so much with mobilizing its own members, that looks like a pretty serious deficit in, let's call it, industrial efficiency.
Right. So that makes Egan's strike-ready agenda much clearer. It's not just about ideology, it's operational. Shift resources from the central office to the branches to actually get that vote out.
That's the idea. Get the members engaged enough to vote yes and participate in the ballot. Now, this internal stuff, it naturally impacts their external politics, too, which is crucial for a public sector union.
Sure. So McEnany's approach there is about access, close ties with labor.
Yeah, maximizing political influence, getting those top-down legislative wins, ensuring UNISON has a seat at the table. Think about the push for electronic balloting. That's a potentially huge win for making future strikes easier to organize.
Makes sense. But Egan argues that closeness is actually a problem, that it makes the union subservient and hurts the immediate fight for pay. She's even talking about reviewing labor funding.
She is. The argument is that real bargaining power needs more autonomy, less dependence on one party.
But isn't there a huge risk there? Political isolation? If you need government action on things like NHS funding.
That's the gamble. It's a major trade-off you're asking members to consider. McEnany's model. Efficient for those big-picture policy things, maybe legislative changes. But, with austerity likely looming for the public sector, that political access might not translate into actual pay rises. It could prove quite inefficient for members' immediate pockets.
And the flip side, Egan's autonomy. It might boost bargaining power for pay now.
Potentially, yes. But at the